Hey, I'm Adam Chamberlain. I'm the video production audio engineer at Life Church, based here in Edmond, Oklahoma. And so, what I'm doing this video for is essentially to kind of educate filmmakers, any aspiring videographers out there who want to learn more about audio equipment, technique, just how to place mics, what mics to use, that kind of thing. Hopefully, it's informative, not too boring. Hopefully, you enjoy it and get something out of it. Okay, so one of the goals of this video is to help you learn about getting good audio. Having said that, this is probably best experienced by listening either on some good speakers, monitors, or some headphones that are high quality, so you can really hear the differences and the nuances of material that we're covering. Okay, and so there's one other point that I wanted to cover in this intro, that there's a mindset for a lot of people to say, let's fix it in post, and that's easy to think, easy to do sometimes. Maybe makes it easy on set to kind of overlook some stuff that ought to be paid a lot of attention to. So my hope is that by learning the material that we're covering, you can get great audio at the source, and understand that each step in the process of a video production, everything from pre-production to the actual shoot, to post and mastering, each step benefits from excellence in that moment, and each step down the line also benefits from that excellence and makes it a better product ultimately. Okay, so with all that in mind, what I would like to do is first talk about how mics work, what kind of different mic options there are, and how to use them. Okay, so there's multiple kinds of mics out there, as I'm sure you're aware, and it can be confusing what kind of mic you want to use, when to use it, what makes sense for what situation. The ones I want to talk about today are called omni or omnidirectional, and shotgun or boom mic is a classic example of that. So an omni mic picks up in an omnidirectional pattern, meaning equal amounts of audio from all directions. That means you're going to get more of, say, the room, maybe more of other people if there's other people in the room talking, or more of traffic, or anything like that that's just surrounding where that omnidirectional mic is placed. An interview mic in like news is another example of an omni mic, so it's a lot easier to move it around and still get what's going on without it having to be super directional to get exactly the sound that you're wanting to hear. Okay, so some uses for an omni mic are when maybe you're a one-person crew, you can't be operating a boom, or you've just got to be hands-free to do other stuff. An omni mic's going to pick up a lot more. You don't have to be as specific about the placement, and so it's just a little bit easier to get more audio that way. Another benefit of an omni mic is maybe there's just more coverage that you need to get than a boom mic can get. Maybe a podcast or something, and there's people sitting around a table. If you don't have 6 mics for 6 people to talk into, maybe one omni mic right in the middle will actually get everything that you need. With that, you're going to get more room, but that's just kind of the cost of using an omni mic. So kind of just want to weigh if that makes sense for what you're doing. And another use for an omni mic is whenever you have a wide shot and it's too wide for a boom to be in and get good audio, unless it's going to be in the frame. And obviously you don't want that. So sometimes you really have to use a omni mic, like a lav mic. Like I've got one here. I've also got one in my shirt, and we're going to be comparing the sound of those as we go through this. But that's a great way to use an omni mic when it's really the only way to get audio in a concealed kind of way. And with that, sometimes a boom mic draws too much attention. Maybe it's really important that you're not sticking out when you're filming and you want to be a little more discreet. So a boom mic can kind of just draw more attention than you really want. So if that's a big concern, sometimes you may just want to use a lav mic and keep it kind of hidden. So on the other hand, a shotgun or boom mic can be really useful if your subject is pretty defined. You know where it's going to be. The boom mic is a lot more focused, so you can kind of hone in on what you're trying to get out of your sound. Now, a drawback to that is, let's say we've got these 2 boom mics here. One is angled towards me and then the other one is pointed straight down at me. And there's plenty of ways you can use a boom to get good audio, but there are kind of drawbacks with certain mic placements that you should be aware of. One is, I've been sitting in this position most of this video, but if I kind of lean forward and talk a little bit more to you like this, then the boom mic overhead is now hitting me back here. Probably not nearly as clear as you can tell, but the one pointed towards me at an angle, as you can see from over here, is probably still picking me up a lot better. I'm just more in its range. And then even when I back up again, I'm still getting picked up quite a bit by the one angled towards me, while at this point, maybe I get a little more comfortable and sit back. I think it's probably clear that the one overhead straight down at me is not nearly as ideal. So you kind of want to think about where your subject's going to be, how they're going to be moving, just in a natural kind of way, and where you want to put that mic. Okay, so as I said before, where an Omni mic can be helpful is if you're not sure where movement is going to happen, who's going to be talking maybe, and what makes it tough to get that kind of situation with a boom is you've got to be pretty focused in on who's talking or where the sound's coming from. And if it's a live event, say, you can't do that again. So unless you're really confident of where the boom needs to be pointed, you may want to have both as an option so that you can be sure that you don't miss really key and important moments that can't be captured again. All right, so hopefully this information isn't boring you too much. Hopefully it's helping you out. So this next section I want to talk about is a few things to consider taking the information that we learned about kind of what mics there are and how they work. We can use that to determine what we should do when we're on a shoot. So step one, when you're on a shoot, thinking about getting good audio, what you want to do is consider the room or the environment that you're in. So this can be a small room, a big room, indoor, outdoor. You could be in nature. You could be in an urban environment. And eventually you're probably going to end up in all those kind of scenarios and everything else in between. So it's great to be considerate of the environment that you're in and how that's going to affect the sound that you're getting. Okay, so when you're considering the environment that you're in, be it a room or an outdoor environment, whatever it is, what you're going to want to think about is how much does the shot need to be in a very specific spot versus the audio in a very specific spot. And what I mean by that is maybe you want to be in a dressing room to get a behind the scenes kind of thing. But there's an air conditioner in that room and you can hear it pretty obviously. I would ask yourself, does it matter exactly where I am in that room visually, or can I frame the shot in a way that allows me to put the mic where I'm getting a really great sound and still visually get the same effect with surroundings that kind of place you in that environment? So don't be afraid to set up your shot, of course, the way it needs to look visually to be compelling and tell the story you want to tell, but don't let just the visual completely override the audio, where if you've got bad audio, it kind of immediately just pulls your audience away and makes it feel less believable. So consider both whenever you're deciding where you want to frame your shot and what location you're shooting in. So what's important to remember about mic placement is a lot of what I've already mentioned. Basically, is your subject going to be moving? Is it defined? Is it a little ambiguous? Just kind of take what you've learned about Omni mics, shotgun mics, figure out what's going to make the most sense for what you're trying to do. I think in general, a boom is a little bit more clean and it's a little bit more surefire to be, just tight on the sound that you want to get. Now, if that's just not an option, that's fine, but really be intentional about still where you place a lav mic if that's what you're going to be using. Okay, so here's an example of a lav mic that maybe was placed inside a shirt, and for whatever reason, the shoot has progressed and the mic has fallen down. If it's the only mic you set up, you're a little bit up a creek because It's now way down in your shirt. I think I've got it, yeah, it's down here. And so you can probably tell it's pretty muffled. And it's just going to be tough to recover very good audio from that. So definitely be mindful of where you place your mic, especially if it's just one microphone. You want to be confident that it's going to stay where it needs to, and you're going to be able to get good audio through the entire shoot. And that's why it's good to be monitoring your audio as much as possible, both levels and in sound with headphones if ever possible, even if it's just a one-man crew. That just ensures that you're always getting good audio. Okay, so in considering mic placement, especially if you're using a boom, one thing you want to think about is what else is the boom pointed at. Just because it's pointed at your subject and that audio is coming through clearly doesn't mean that's all you're going to get. Like I've said, booms are very directional, but that also means something behind me in the same direction as where the boom's pointed is also going to get picked up pretty clearly. And because of that, you want to be mindful of not only the subject that the boom's pointed at, but everything else. Be considerate of the angle, maybe not going from up, but sometimes from below actually is a better way to avoid sound that's closer to the ground. If maybe a computer desk has a CPU down there, then maybe more straight on or from the ground facing up is a better idea. If there's not much going on with maybe some buzzing lights, obviously there's environment all around you, so it's really just important to be aware of what you're pointing your mics at and what you want to get rid of and what you want to make sure you do get and capture good audio of. Okay, so another topic I want to talk about is gain structuring, and this is super important. I can't really stress enough the importance of getting this right. Now, it doesn't have to be precise, but as long as you're in a ballpark, you're going to be set. There's a mindset of a lot of people that you want to get the highest gain you can on a signal without clipping. And in today's digital world, there's really just no need for that. I think where that mentality came from is the analog world, where you wanted to get your signal as high as you could so that it separates it as much as possible from the noise floor, which is just the inherent noise of a room, maybe electronics or whatever. And so if you can get your source to be really loud, then that noise feels far below it. There's really just no need for that. You can get your levels ideally somewhere between maybe -20 and -15 dB on your meters. It doesn't have to be exact, like I said, but that gives you plenty of signal, and that also gives you plenty of headroom or space from your average talking level to louder parts. Sometimes somebody can talk really quiet. They may kind of lean in a little bit and get real quiet in what they're saying. But then they get really excited and boom, your levels are just going nuts. Pretty much unusable audio. And the moment could have been great, really exciting, but it sounds terrible and you can't do anything about it. You want to avoid clipping. Clipping is the same thing essentially as overexposing a photo. You can't undo that. Once something is clipped, once video is overexposed or a photo is overexposed, you can't really recover that fully to a normal image or normal audio. It's kind of permanently damaged. So, like I said, -20, -15, if you're averaging in that range, that's a really safe spot to be, and that gets you plenty of signal, but isn't going to be too loud and avoids clipping if things get a little loud. Something to consider while you're shooting are some accessories that you can use with microphones. A few examples are things like a little foam cover that you can put on a boom mic that can kind of reduce some wind noise. There's also other versions of that like blimps. There's also a dead cat, or there's lots of names for those, but essentially some to be aware of. They can help you maybe reduce boominess for really low rumble stuff, maybe if you're moving the boom around and there's a lot of wind. Of course, it'll reduce wind noise. Depending on what you're using, though, it may affect your sound in a way that's less than ideal. It really depends on what you need for that instance. If it's a really windy day, then something like a dead cat is a totally viable option. It's really going to help reduce the wind, and it may muffle your sound a little bit, but that's way better than getting super windy, boomy audio that is near impossible to take out. But on the other hand, if it's not a really windy day, conditions aren't crazy, you're probably going to be fine by just leaving the mic in a blimp and getting good, clean audio that way. The blimp also is going to protect your mic in a great way. In case something hits it, in case it falls, it's going to protect it from getting nicked or damaged unless something real major happens. And obviously that's never ideal. But anyway, those are a few things that can help you get better audio in different circumstances. And not really a big deal. It's just a great accessory to have around and maybe test out a little bit and see what kind of results you can get from those. Okay, so there's another point I wanted to bring up about getting good audio, and that's actually just taking care of your audio equipment. So that's everything from keeping your mics protected, maybe putting them in a blimp if you're using a boom, or just keeping them in a case whenever they're not in use, keeping them out of the way of dust and heat and extreme temperatures. It's basically just going to allow you to have great equipment. It's going to last you longer, and you're going to get great results for a lot longer period of time. So just be sure to be mindful of how you take care of your equipment.
Yeah. You heard the for days, like the
Classic.
well, yeah, it's a new. Yeah. What am I hitting? No, let me do that.
F sharp. So,
yeah.
Sound. Magical, right?
Can be. I could hear a great song recorded poorly, and I will turn that off.
Interesting point. Me too.
It's crazy.
Yeah, for real. It's, I think it's just way less believable, even for someone without a trained ear.
Right.
Yeah.
You're capturing less than what is possible.
So when it comes to sound in film, how much of a role do you feel it plays in terms of importance, telling a story, creating a moment?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think sound can do for you?
Well, I mean, there's a reason why, even in Hollywood and these big picture films, why they spend millions of dollars just on the post-production of audio, whether it be Foley, sound effects, getting the dialogue right, redoing the dialogue in some senses, and then obviously the scores. I think it's one of those things that without it, your commonplace person, that your common person that goes to see a movie or watches TV would not notice, or how good it is. But if it were gone, they would immediately be like, something's not right here. So that was a long answer. Short answer is, I think it is just as crucial as quality of video. I really do.
Yeah, I think the difference between the kind of story you're able to tell with good audio and average visual quality versus poor audio and outstanding video quality is really night and day. Like, if you've got great audio, no one, like you said, will really notice unless they're just really listening for what they're doing, what kind of techniques went into it. And then the visual elements just kind of tell themselves, tell the story. But whenever you've got really bad audio, something pops, you hear wind, when
hums, clicks,
then it immediately pulls you out of the story and puts it like you're just watching people act.
Yeah. It's very distracting. It's like when you're sitting at a coffee shop or something and it's quiet, and then like that one guy with the really loud motorcycle or the unnecessary subs in his car drives by.
Right.
Everyone in the place is always like, you can see they're like,
yeah, it pulls you away from the moment.
Like slightly disturbed.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It almost makes you feel uncomfortable at times. And I think while it's not always as obvious as that, I think being intentional about things like score, like you mentioned, not just dialogue, not just sound effects, every element in making a film, making a documentary, even just a 1-minute promo or commercial, every step really benefits and can't really be overlooked. If you've got excellence in mind, every step really needs it.
Yeah, and it just takes a little extra time, really, is it? 5 to 10 extra minutes getting the audio set and knowing that it's right. And testing it, too. But that's neither here nor there. Well, actually, that is here, mostly.
That's
and
good.
It will soon be there for you.
Stay tuned.
For more.
After
this.
Right.
Now.
Because.
Bye.
Thank you.
Could somebody get me an Evian? I'm just parched over here. Thank you.
I don't think we have that.